How do I get a big butt? Why is it so important to sleep? And what do you do when your New Year's resolution, particularly weight loss progress, is all of a sudden not going anywhere? Maybe even it's going backwards like it did for me this week. We're going to get to those questions today in number 7 Q&A for the Healthy Human Project. Let's get it. Okay, we are here with the 7th Q&A for the Healthy Human Project, and last week I answered a two-part question of how to get a bigger butt, and I kind of forgot to do the second part of that answer. So if you want to see the first part, which is basically the stimulus that is required to trigger your body wanting to grow a bigger butt, which really carries over to any muscle group, then go back and look for number 6 of the Healthy Human Project Q&A, and there's helpful navigational timestamps. You can find exactly where in the video I start talking about that. Today we're going to get to the second part of that question, which is what is required to feed the growth once you have stimulated it. So at this point, you've done the exercise, you've stimulated your body that we need to grow the glutes in particular, or whatever muscle group it is that you're trying to make larger. So let's talk about what you need to put into your body, and maybe even when you need to put it into your body to grow the most amount of muscle, or at least grow any at all, because we want to see progress, right? So to get progress, period, you need to make sure that you are eating enough protein. And I kind of talked about this, I think it was in last week's video, about how meat is simply, whether it's fish, red meat, chicken, whatever, you need the richest amount of amino acid composition as possible to grow the most amount of not just muscle, but hair, skin. Literally every single thing, every structure in your body requires protein. And there are certain amino acids, there's anywhere from 9 to 11 amino acids that our body just cannot make on its own. So you have to eat those amino acids, and the best sources of amino acids to make sure that we are getting those essential amino acids are going to come from fish, chicken, turkey, red meat, so poultry, red meats, and fish, any kind of animal products. You can, successfully grow muscle and all that stuff on a vegetarian or vegan diet, but you're going to probably need to ingest more protein. And I say that because the numbers I'm about to give you, you need to understand, depending on the type of food you are or are not eating, you might need to change these levels a little bit. But in general, if you are losing weight, if you are on a weight loss diet, but you're also trying to gain muscle mass, you're going to want to at least consume 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Now, if you are trying to stay the same weight, but trying to add some muscle mass, technically that means you are trying to gain weight, but not necessarily in the form of like, I need to see another pound on the scale every week or month. We get it. You're not really trying to change your weight. You're just trying to change a certain part of your body or a few parts of your body. But technically you are trying to add weight. And by that definition, you should be in a caloric surplus. It's not 100% necessary, but if you're trying to gain weight, you kind of need to give your body the extra energy it needs in order to add weight. So it can be done without being in a quote-unquote caloric surplus, but I'm just going to focus on the part that's going to get you the best results, since everyone always wants the best results. So let's talk about a caloric surplus. There are a plethora of nutrition calculators out there that can give you, based on your activity level, your height, your age, yada yada, how many calories is required per day to sustain your current body weight, how much you would have to deprive yourself of to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. In this case, we're looking to add weight, so you're probably going to see estimates that tell you gain up to maybe a half pound or 1 pound per week. I don't think any diet out there or any calculator is going to tell you, here's how to gain 2 pounds per week. That's a little aggressive, and it's certainly not going to give you 2 pounds of muscle at that rate. You're going to be putting on a lot of fat if you're eating that much extra energy on a regular basis. So I say to people, figure out what your maintenance level is, which can take a few weeks of trial and error, because calculators, as good as they are, they're not going to be perfect, and it's a moving target. Your calorie output one day is probably never going to be the same again for hundreds of days. Every single day it's going to be a little different, whether it's different by a few, it's different by 10, 30, whatever, or it can easily be different by hundreds, sometimes even thousands of calories, depending on how sedentary you are one day and how active you are another. So estimating your caloric output is a moving target, no matter how active or inactive you are. So keep that in mind. Over the course of a few weeks, see if you are staying the same weight on average or gaining weight or losing weight. Based on that and tracking how many calories you're eating, you should get a really good idea over the course of a few weeks of about what your maintenance level is and whether you are above or below that. I recommend, once you find that maintenance level, be about 250 to 500 calories over as many days as you can. But if you're only working out once or twice a week, then it probably doesn't make sense to be in a surplus every single day, because you're really not stimulating more muscle growth after about 2 to 3 days from your workout. So if you work out on Monday and Tuesday, let's keep it simple, once you get to about Thursday, you should really probably just consume maintenance level calories until you stimulate more growth again on Monday, the following Monday at the gym. So eat 250 to 500 extra calories per day that you're stimulating growth. Again, at least 24, 48 maybe, and then up to 72 hours after a workout. So no more than 2 to 3 days after your workout should you be eating a surplus, unless you're okay with just adding more fat to your body. If you eat a very rich composition of amino acids, i.e. animal products, then there's no need to eat more than 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight to feed your body enough amino acids and protein to grow more muscle tissue. If, however, you are on a vegetarian or vegan diet, I'm going to go ahead and say that you probably want to go at least 1.1, if not up to even 1.3 grams of protein per pound of body weight, just to make sure, since you are going to have fewer of those essential amino acids in your diet, that you're getting plenty of them. So that's just kind of on a whim, trying to estimate how many more amino acids should be going into your diet, given that you're eating a less rich composition of amino acids on a vegetarian or vegan diet. So you can do your own research yourself. You can trial and error it, and maybe 1 gram on a vegan diet is enough. And even on an animal product diet, if you're really not seeing any progress at 1 gram per pound of body weight, increase it a little bit. There are a lot of factors that affect absorption and the growth itself. Men are going to be able to grow muscle mass easier than women because their testosterone level is higher, and testosterone helps signal muscle growth and retain muscle growth. Some people, depending on their diet, whether they have chronic digestive issues like IBS, they might not be able to absorb all those amino acids that they're now consuming. Even if it's more than they used to, they might not be absorbing much, if any more, because it just takes their body a long time to adjust to a new diet, a new quantity of protein going into the body. So for a variety of reasons, that 1 gram rule or the 1.3 gram rule, depending on your diet, might not be enough, and it might even be too much. You might see growth at 0.7 grams per pound of body weight. It's all about trial and error, but in general, from what I was told by a professor in my exercise science class, was that no research has shown that a human is ever able to absorb and utilize more than 0.7 grams per pound of body weight. But again, because sometimes our diet might not give us all the essential amino acids that we need to form all the proteins that are required to grow more muscle tissue, as well as sustain our normal bodily functions of recycling old cells, creating new cells, releasing new hormones, yada yada. It's good to just give ourselves a little bit more than what we might need, because you'd rather have plenty rather than not enough. So again, the stimulus needs to be there, and then the nutrition needs to be there, and hopefully that's a good rundown of how to feed your body when you're trying to grow more muscle. If you have more questions, obviously every single week, ask them. I'm happy to expand on that. We're going to get into the next thing, which is how much sleep should I be getting? And I'm offering this not because someone asked it, but because I did a masterclass recently. If you've seen it, masterclass is this super cool service where these experts in different fields basically give you a class on how to do whatever it is. And in this one, it was from Dr. Michael Walker, who is the professor of neuroscience and psychology at UC Berkeley, and he's also the director of the Center for Human Sleep Science. Super educated person, like absolutely an authority on the topic of sleep. Really enjoyed the masterclass. So I'm going to give you some information. I think it's like 13 or 14 episodes long. So there's hours of content here, and I highly encourage you to go read or listen, watch, whatever yourself. But I'm just going to give you the rundown because this is, I think, really interesting and very important for everybody. The percentage of people on this planet that science knows can thrive and do perfectly fine with less than 7 hours of sleep a night, rounded to the nearest percentage, is 0%. No one on this planet that is a human can do as well as they should with less than 7 hours of sleep. Now, there is a little bit of information in the masterclass about how one stint of sleep at night and then naps can possibly work together to give you enough sleep to add up to 7 or more hours. But in general, it is recommended that you sleep at least 7 hours every night. And I'm gonna, just talk about the reasons that are related to fitness, which is muscle growth. The majority of your growth hormone releases while you are sleeping. So this is actually going to tie back to that last question about timing of when we should eat. I highly recommend, especially if you're on a weight loss diet, but you're also trying to grow muscle, that you eat dinner. Some people, including myself right now, I'm not really that concerned with muscle at the moment. I'm on a 30-pound weight loss challenge. But sometimes I am fasting at dinner time rather than at breakfast. And for reasons mentioned in a previous Q&A video, I talk about why fasting at dinner might be better for fat loss than fasting at breakfast. So you can go find that one if you want to hear more about it. But because your body signals the most amount of growth, does the most amount of repair while you are sleeping, it's really important to make sure that those amino acids that are going to help build new muscle tissue, repair damaged muscle tissue, and supporting all the normal functions that are so regenerative and important for our daily health, that you supply those as close to, or at least within an adequate amount of time to your sleep. So try never to skip dinner if you're growing muscle mass or trying to grow a certain part of your body with muscle tissue. There's no problem in depriving yourself of a meal if you are trying to just lose fat and lose weight. By no means am I saying you should skip dinner at any point in time. It's just a strategy for some people who are trying to deprive themselves of a healthy amount of calories and trying to figure out when might be the best time of day to do that. So for fat loss, there is some research to suggest that depriving those calories before you go to sleep to help you burn fat through the night, because your body is doing a lot of work while you sleep, that depriving some energy from your meal before you go to sleep might help your body utilize more of the fat on your body to perform a lot of that work. So again, depending on your fitness goal, you can and are perfectly warranted in depriving yourself of dinner and eating at breakfast instead. But for the sake of growing muscle tissue, eat a rich composition of protein and therefore amino acids before you go to sleep, especially the first night and second night after you've done a good resistance training workout where you have stimulated that growth. Try to get at least 7 hours. Some people need up to 9 hours, so keep that in mind. There's a lot of information in the masterclass about how to kind of get a good idea of what your body really needs, as well as when does your body best go to sleep so that it stays asleep through the night. I won't go into that much detail about it. And yeah, I'm really not even qualified to try to remember everything that Dr. Walker said, but it's definitely something that you should, in the near future, if not immediately, start paying attention to. Like, when does your body get sleepy and when does it like to wake up? Because if you are pushing yourself past that bedtime that your natural bodily clock wants, you might even be asleep, but as he calls it, there's a difference between sedative sleep and regenerative sleep. A lot of people, alcohol. The smallest amount of alcohol can completely disrupt a healthy night's sleep. You might have your eyes closed and you might feel like you're asleep for 7, maybe even 8 hours, but there's nowhere near the amount of regeneration going on, nowhere near the amount of restoration going on when you're in a sedative type of sleep compared to when you're in a healthy regenerative sleep. And alcohol, no one sleeps well with alcohol. That's basically the lesson of alcohol on the master class. So when you drink, which should already be, for fitness sake, very moderately, very spaced apart, once, maybe twice a week, hopefully rarely ever more than that. When you drink, get prepared for not feeling well the next day, not feeling rested, and probably going to take at least a day or two to really get back into a cycle of healthy sleep. So yet another reason to keep alcohol at a minimal in your diet for the rest of your life. We'll call it there. Get 7 to 9 hours of sleep as often as you can. In fact, real quick, parents of small children or people who truly struggle with insomnia, chronically getting less than 7 hours of sleep is a mild level of brain disease. So considering our kid is about to turn 8 months old, my wife and I are going on 8 months of mild brain disease, and it 100% feels like that. It is so hard to be productive. I can't even think of all the words that I want to say, and I'm often pausing and trying to figure out what word is that I'm thinking of. It is very hard to be productive and just do life the way we want to do it when we are chronically sleep deprived. So now we have science to tell us exactly why that is. We are basically mildly diseased in our brains. Thanks, Dr. Walker. Okay, final question and answer. What do we do when, especially on weight loss, since that is what I'm doing right now, and I had my first week of backwards progress, but what do we do with our New Year's resolutions this time of year? It's end of January. Most of those people out there who say new year, new me, are starting to hit those roadblocks and get thrown off course, and we know the majority of people quit. And it's not always about weight loss. There's a good chunk of that, but this is for people who are trying to start a new habit where I'm not going to watch TV after a certain time of day. I'm going to stop eating this. I'm going to stop drinking that and substitute it with something else. What are some strategies that we can do to make sure we don't get thrown off course? Well, I think the most important thing to understand is that no one out there, think of the most successful person at anything that you want to do in your life, whether it's rock climbing, playing basketball, being one of the best educators in the country. I guarantee you, if you haven't already, if you just look up the story of what it took to make them the best at what they do, it involved not just a few, but many mistakes, many times of trying something, failing, and either having to pivot and go a different route or just keep grinding in the direction they were going. You need to understand that mistakes and failure are part of the success process. So when you start a new year, new me sort of thing, whatever it is, expect to hit some roadblocks. I tell that with all of my clients, that we're going to have failures. They'll ask me, how long will it take for me to lose this weight? How long will it be before I'm ready to run a marathon? And I tell them, well, scientifically, here's how long it should take. But behaviorally, knowing what I know, that everyone's going to have some kind of week or even month long or more stint where they just get completely thrown off, whether it's because of holidays, vacations, a loved one dies, and it just completely throws them, for a loop. Like, those things happen. And, I obviously hate the ones where it's someone whose life is lost. Those are the hardest ones to really stay on track and focus on you, because all you can think of is the person that you lost. But there's no shortage of reasons that people think I should stop doing this. I should just give up. There's no point anymore. I've already hit, this obstacle. I've already fallen behind, yada, yada. You haven't fallen behind unless you thought you were going to do this process perfectly. So if you plan for the mistakes, if you plan for the roadblocks, you plan to get slowed down along the way, all of a sudden you're not behind, you're right on track. Oh, I knew that this was going to happen. I was going to get to a point where I don't feel motivated to lose the weight anymore. I don't feel motivated to do all this cooking. I don't feel motivated to go for another run. You're going to lose motivation. You're going to get distracted by other things in your life. So when you plan for that to happen, it all of a sudden just completely changes the perspective of like, oh, we talked about this, or I knew this was going to happen and I planned. I wrote it down. I said, you're going to probably in the next couple months hit your first roadblock, and then there's going to be another one, and then something's going to get thrown that we never even planned on. But when you just allocate time in your schedule of, I'm going to do X amount of whatever this year, oh wait, that's if I do it perfectly. Let me actually scale that back more realistically. If I hit a higher number, if I do better than expected, great. But if not, I'm at least doing it, and I'm doing it the entire year. So, sorry if you can hear the dog barking in the background. I guess someone just showed up. But yeah, that's the whole point of like behaviorally plan for mistakes. It's part of the process. You will never succeed unless you fail. Remember that. Specifically speaking though, about weight loss, what can we do when we start to see either a plateau, or in the case of me this week, we had a really stressful week, not a single good night of sleep again. We just had a lot of reasons where it was like, all right, there's just no cooking. There is no staying on track this week. And luckily, I had 3 really great weeks where I lost 13 pounds in 3 weeks, which is twice as many as I expected to lose in that amount of time. So honestly, this week I was just like, whatever, I can afford for this week to just not go well. So one day after another, it was like, well, I guess today's another day where I'm just going to do what's easiest, because right now I need easy. It's just too hard. That being said, we had some good news this week that I'll share later on, but it wasn't all bad. But as far as the diet goes, we backtracked. Last week I was 194 something. This week I'm 195 something. Basically I gained a pound on the scale, but I'm not in the least way concerned about it, because I'm going to be right back on track this week, pending nothing crazy comes up. But I'm already off to a good start today, so we're going to be right back on it. I planned for some days, even some weeks in this process of being like, I'm going to lose 30 pounds by May 1st. I have plenty of time to lose that on a 2 pound per week, perfectly safe and healthy pace. But yeah, this was just the first week. There will be another, but I'm going to make this coming week count, because we've recouped. We've done grocery shopping today. It's all there. We're ready. So back on the horse. I knew there was going to be hard times. We had them this week, and here we go again. It's just getting restarted. I haven't failed. I haven't fallen behind. I'm right on track. So if that's you, if you're out there trying to lose weight, gain weight, get stronger, and you're hitting a roadblock now, or you're going to hit it in the next few weeks, expect it, and just know that this is only temporary. Like, we have our ups and downs. We probably have them, whether we realize it or not, every single week, some ups and downs. Take care of yourself in the downs and get right back on top of it on the highs. If you have specifics that you want me to address, in terms of like, well, what do I do specifically about my calories, about my food, about my exercise? Ask those questions. I'm happy to answer them. Specifically for me, I know I don't need to change anything at this moment. I'm only a few weeks in. My metabolism has not changed that much where I need to all of a sudden change my calories. You really only have to do that at the most every month. It's only been a few weeks for me, but realistically, it's more like every 2 months that you really need to reevaluate. Okay, I probably need to change how many calories I'm eating, maybe even adjust how much protein I'm getting, what my ratio of carbs and fats are. But we can get really specific with that. I just like to keep it simple, and the simple way to do it is just not worry about it, but every 2 months. So what I will be doing this week is the same thing I've been doing the last few weeks, eating a healthy breakfast and trying to skip a few dinners, but not many, just 2 or 3 per week, which is what I was doing when I lost 13 pounds in 3 weeks. Not going to be changing anything other than kind of like my mindset. Like last week was hard. This week, even if it's a little stressful, it's probably going to be better than last week. So I'm going to remember that. Like, okay, last week was the tough week. Let's set ourselves up for some more momentum. Today's the start of that. You want to continue it. So if I have a good day today, it's not, okay, I had a good day yesterday. Let's cheat a little bit and get lazy on it tomorrow. Unless, just a big life event hits, you want to keep that momentum going. Like, take advantage of the good days. Take advantage of the easier days, because you have more control on those days. It's the hard days that are like, hey, don't beat yourself up. Take care of yourself. Do what makes you feel better. Do what's easiest. Just get through it. But then, back on those highs, when you're on the peaks of the ups and downs, take advantage and stay focused, because those are the easiest times to stay focused and stay in control of what it is you're trying to accomplish. So plan for failure, plan for mistakes, because that's part of the process of becoming successful at whatever your goal is. Remember that. That's everything I have for this week. Almost 30 more minutes. I talk so long. I'm sorry, you guys. But the navigational timestamps should help you hear only the things that are important to you. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, give yourself a high five in the comments. Like the video, it helps me out. And I will see you guys next week. Have a great week, you guys. Get 7 to 9 hours of sleep, all right?